Let's talk about Iran with my good friend, General Keith Kellogg, former special envoy for Ukraine, American First Policy Institute, Center for American Security. He's the co-chair. Keith Kellogg, welcome. You know, this is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but I'm quite serious about this. First of all, you've got Mr. Trump. Now it's economic starvation, strangulation. Anyway, will Iran collapse without any more shooting, just with economic fury run by Treasury man Scott Bessent, and very well by him? And the second question, Keith, is stepping back for a minute, have we won the war with Iran? Have we so crippled them and so taken their capacities away to do harm that we've really won the war and we may not even know it?
Yeah, Larry, it's good to be with you. Look, what you said is entirely accurate. And from our perspective, we have done great. The president has done great. The trouble is, in their minds, they're winning, not us. And not ours, but in their minds, they're doing that. And I think you need a combination of economic and military pressure at the same time going forward. Now, if the president, he's the president of the United States, none of us are, and he makes those calls, what he wants to do under Article 2, Section 2, he kind of owns the farm, he's the commander-in-chief. But what does that mean? It means like, okay, the original reason we did this was because of the nuclear access that they were trying to get to, and the enriched uranium well over 80%, which means that was weapons grade. And if you want to go to negotiations, the very least you could do is go back to the start, because we keep switching around what we want to do. And that means go back to the nuclear part of it. And that means getting somebody there in there with unfettered access. Get in the IAEA to do inspections. Get rid of the enriched uranium. Whatever it's going to take. That'll be a non-starter with the Iranians, but it's something we need to do. And I don't think they're willing to go that far. And right now they've made it all about the Strait of Hormuz. And that's a problem because they don't really, they say they control it. We really control it. But right now, I think the end state of that, if we don't watch out, it's going to be extended to what the Chinese can do in the South China Sea. It's what I'd say is, hey, America, go back and look what Thomas Jefferson did when he was the third president. And that's when you look at the U.S. Marines, and from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, it's sort of like we took care of the Barbary pirates by going in there with force to make sure they were not going to keep capturing our ships, imprisoning our sailors, and that's one of those we have to do military means to get economic means on the same side. And I think he needs to keep thinking about that, whether he likes to or not. Now,
but hang on. I want to just come. Look, I agree. If we could get inspectors in there, that's probably a good thing. But we have satellites in space, and we have decimated all of their capabilities, industrial capabilities, nuclear capabilities. We're keeping an eye on Pickaxe Mountain. I understand that. I'd like to get people on the ground. Yes, agree with you, Keith. But we know a lot. My point is, we are right now blockading their cash. They can't get any money. We are blockading their ports. They are not selling any oil. The sanctions are taking effect. Their offshore banking assets and, villas in the south of France and everything else the IRGC generals and colonels have stolen from the people of Iran. What was it in the papers this morning? There's an 82% inflation rate and a 9% unemployment rate, so it's a 91% misery index, and probably all that's low because it comes from something called Iranian statistics. I don't know. Probably it's twice as bad as that. They're on the run. I mean, I know what they say, but I don't care what they say. They are being strangled economically. And that's why I say it's not just tongue-in-cheek. We are probably closer to winning this war than our own people realize.
Yeah, Larry, the thing is, they don't care. Their leadership doesn't care. And I know we're hurting the Iranian people. And that's where I'd like to say to the president or somebody like him, maybe you ought to come up with a presidential finding or a memorandum of notification that you say, we're going to do with the same thing we did in Afghanistan by supporting the insurgents, supporting the people going forward. And that's the only way we're going to do it with military force plus economic force. Because right now, they don't care. The leadership doesn't care. Vahidi doesn't care, who's leading the Revolutionary Guards, or Arashi, who's their foreign minister, doesn't care.
Well,
now, let me make a quick shift for you. Where
Covert.
you were, there's been a
Covert.
big thing about weaponry.
No, covert operations. You're hinting at covert operations, and I think that's crucial. I want to agree with you. I think that's absolutely crucial. We've talked about that with General Keane. I think you and I have talked about this, at least offline. It would be, I'm assuming there is a presidential finding, and this is the time. With them literally starving internally, right? They're being cut off. Keith, their railways, their railroads are cut off. I spoke to the president last week. One of the things he mentioned to me, and I didn't even know this, is the last round of bombing, whatever, the 10 straight nights of bombing, their railroads are cut off. You can't get goods. They're being isolated from surrounding countries. You know, even bad actors like Pakistan, they're going to have trouble getting any food into Iran because of what we've done. Trucks are no good. Roads are no good. Railroads are no good. So now's the time for a covert finding. Let us help those who want to help themselves.
Yep. I mean, I really believe that has to be done out there. And they need to help the Iranian people. All we're doing now is hurting the Iranian people, and the Revolutionary Guards and the Supreme Leader, they don't care, and that's unfortunate. Now, the second part is where there's a big thing going around about our weaponry, and if we cross level, we're going to be fine. But, you know, if I was the president, I'd invoke the Defense Production Act and tell the major companies out there, you can divert stuff by the presidential directive to make things we need right away. And you tell them basically, if you don't support this, we are going to suspend or debar you. That'll get their CEO's attention out there. Now, they don't talk about that, but I think we need to do that to get our weaponry back online and get us to the numbers we want it to be at. We've let the thing atrophy, not this administration, but the previous administration, and now we're seeing the price. And we better be ready for the next fight. It's going to come sooner rather than later.
Yep, I agree. All that. I'm just saying, I think that Mr. Trump and the command have done better than anybody gives them credit for. And for all I know, we've won the war already. But we'll see, IRGC or not. General Keith Kellogg, thanks ever so much. We appreciate it.